26. 16. Ben.
This isn't so different from that night in that shitty desert town in Iraq, or that night in the dirty bar in Pakistan, or in the med tent in Somalia. Wakes are all the same. Besides the 2 shots he took with Kate, Ben elects not to drink any more. Kate isn't wrong about shit going sideways when everyone starts getting shit-faced. Someone needs to be sober. Gary doesn't count, since he's still unconscious. Besides that, if he's drunk, he won't be able to look after Kate. One look into her eyes tells him she's on the edge. She's taken on the burden of Lila and Jesus' deaths. He knows what that feels like. He carries a long list of names in his head. People he's failed. People who have died because of him. He wishes Kate didn't have to carry that same burden. He wouldn't wish that on anyone, most especially her. It's only a matter of time before people start getting sick. It's all a part of drowning pain. Susan is the first to beeline into the bathroom and puke her guts out. Reed and Johnny aren't far behind her. Ash has the grace to pass out on the sofa. Eric, stoned and drunk, curls up in the fetal position on the floor and also passes out.
I think I need to lie down.
Kate sways to her feet, blinking bloodshot eyes. One hand presses to her stomach.
Mom, wait.
I'll come with you.
Carter sways to his feet. Yeah, I'm ready for bed, Jenna says.
She and Carter cling to each other, keeping one another upright. Ben rises to his feet without a word. He positions himself next to Kate. If she passes out, he'll be there to catch her. If she starts puking, he'll make sure she doesn't face-plant in her own vomit. He's done that once or twice, and it isn't pleasant.
I don't need an escort,
she growls at him. She takes one unsteady step toward the door. He ignores her, keeping himself positioned next to her.
Maybe we should turn tonight into sleep deprivation training.
Caleb slurs from his slouch against the wall.
I mean, we're all up. Dude, half of us are passed out.
Carter gestures to Ash and Derek. We could throw some water on them. Caleb punctuates this with another swig from his bottle of gin. The asshole has a stomach of iron.
If anyone throws water on anyone else, you'll have me to answer to,
Kate says. She takes another unsteady step toward the door, then walks right into the wall.
Damn it!
She smacks the wall with an open palm. She hits it a second time, then a third, until she's smacking the wall over and over with both palms.
Damn it!
She yells. Ben is pretty sure any intervention on his part will not be welcome. He's grateful when Carter totters over to his mother and takes both her hands in his. She glares at him, trying to yank free. Carter is taller and stronger than Kate. He smothers her in a bear hug.
It's okay, Mom,
he whispers.
It's not fucking okay.
She pounds her fists on his shoulders, Her sobs disappear into his chest. Somehow, Carter gets her out the door. Jenna is on their heels, one hand on the wall for balance. Ben trails them, determined to see all three of them safely to their beds. A few steps into their dorm room, Carter staggers. "Shit. Sorry, Mom." Hand covering his mouth, he rushes toward the bathroom. He doesn't even manage to close the door before he starts throwing up. Jenna hurries after him as best she can. One look at her face, and Ben is pretty sure she's not far behind and around with the toilet. Kate stares after them with red-rimmed, bleary eyes. She looks so wretched and lost, Ben has to look away. "Come on, Mama Bear." He takes her by one arm, intending to get her to her bedroom. She stiffens and tries to shake him off. He ignores her efforts and remains by her side. He sees the battle raging in her features. "Let me help you. Please." Before she falls and knocks out her front teeth or something equally stupid. He resists her feeble effort to shove him away. He steers her toward the tiny dorm room where she sleeps. She grunts, then leans on him. It takes them a few minutes, but at least they enter the tiny rectangular bedroom with Grateful Dead posters all over the walls. He helps her onto the bed. She tips sideways, moaning into the pillow. Ben stares down at her. He hates feeling helpless. He knows what she's going through. How can he tell her that without sounding like a condescending ass? "What did you do when you lost people?" Kate surprises him with the question. "You lost people, right?" She reaches up and brushes her hand over his arm, which is covered by his customary fatigue shirt. He knows she's referring to the tattoos hidden beneath the fabric. "Yeah, I lost people." A barrage of images tumbles through his head. Sand. Narrow, stinky alleyways of worlds far away from this one. A bloody courtyard filled with the bodies of college kids. He can never entirely shake free of those images. Cynthia came to haunt him last night. The lithe, blonde-haired college girl made it her mission to crack jokes until she got Ben to laugh. He tries to remember her quick smile and sharp blue eyes, but overlying it are memories of her prone on the courtyard pavement of College Creek, her body shot up with bullets. He sees all the kids. Ricky, Jim, KP, Susie. Pain blooms in his chest. All those dead kids. And now Lila is among them. Sharp-tongued, quick-witted Lila. "Ben?" Kate blinks up at him from the pillow, curled into the fetal position. Her pale face makes him think she might be joining Carter and Jenna in the bathroom soon. He sinks into the wooden desk chair, rubbing a hand over his face. "I think I need another drink," he mutters. Kate moans, pressing a hand against her stomach. Ben registers the act. He has just enough time to snatch the wastebasket from under the desk before Kate heaves. She vomits several times into the trash can before groaning and rolling back onto the bed. A few bottles of water sit on the desk. He passes her one, moving the trash can next to the door. He drapes a dirty shirt over the top to block the smell.
I never drank when my husband died.
Kate's scratchy voice fills the room.
I just ran. I've always preferred running to alcohol.
Ben returns to the desk chair. He searches for words in the darkness, but doesn't find any.
I know running can't solve everything,
Kate whispers.
but damn it, it's times like this I really wish I could lose myself on a trail and just run.
Some days I wish I could just lose myself. Ben isn't sure where the words come from. He stares around the room as if expecting to find a third person there, even though he knows there's no one else.
You've lost people, right?
It's the second time she's asked him this question. He feels like it takes a crowbar to pry his mouth open. Yeah. I know how you feel. His voice is rough, the words dragged from his throat. Why is it so fucking hard for him to form words? Cynthia. Kate's face is half buried in her pillow. There are no lights on in the room. Even so, Ben sees one eye staring at him in the darkness.
Who's Cynthia?
Maybe hearing his shitty story will help her forget her own. One of the young college women I lost. He swallows back the emotion that tries to fight its way free. Cynthia, Ricky, Jim, KP, Susie, Tweedledum and Tweedledummer, Shelby, Jen, Ditto, Aaron, Jason, Scarlett, Andy, Ted, Ginger. The names fall from his lips, dropping into his lap like 100-pound weights. Kate's eye never wavers as he speaks. Bloodshot and grief-stricken, that single eye watches him from the pillow.
The kids from College Creek?
She asks. He nods. I need to find a tattoo artist. He rubs absently at the blank spot on his shoulder, the place that will someday bear a tattoo memorializing those poor kids. I know what you're going through, Kate. It's shitty. I'd be a lying asshole if I told you it gets better. It doesn't. You just get better at dealing with it. Sort of. If insomnia is a clinical definition of dealing with it. She rolls onto her back, staring up at the posters on the ceiling.
You would have been a shitty motivational speaker.
Guess it's a good thing I signed up to carry a gun around for a living. Her laugh catches him off guard. It fades as quickly as it came.
I feel like it's my fault, she whispers. I feel like they're dead because of me.
I know. Something inside him breaks at the pain in her voice. Shit, Kate. The only thing that really makes it better is time. We both have to live long enough for time to work its magic. He stands. You should sleep. Drink some more water if you can. He doesn't envy the hangover she's going to have in the morning.
Don't leave.
He stands in the middle of the room, feeling awkward. More than anything, he wants to stay. He's never wanted to stay with a woman more than he wants to stay with Kate at that moment.
Please don't leave.
she says again. Tears leak out of her eyes. Terrified he's going to wreck this perfect, fragile moment, he grabs a pillow off the bed and lays down on the floor. He could lay on the bed. He's pretty sure that's what she meant when she asked him to stay. But he suspects this moment between them is because she's drunk and sad. She'll still be sad in the morning, but she won't be drunk. He can't stomach the idea of her waking up and recoiling from him. She can't recoil from him if he's on the floor.
Here's a blanket.
She pushes a quilt in his direction. When he reaches up to take it, their fingertips brush. Kate grabs his hand.
Thanks for not lying to me, she whispers.
He says the only thing that comes to mind. You're welcome, Kate. She laces her fingers with his. A few minutes later, her breath evens, and the grip of her hand relaxes. She's asleep. Kate is asleep, her hand laced with his. For once in his life, words hadn't completely fucked things up.
"27. Hangover. Kate. I wake up with the worst hangover of my adult life. I open my eyes. Psychedelic Grateful Dead posters hang on the ceiling above me, but all I see is Lila's face. The calm, determined set to her jaw when she raised the cig to her temple. Next, I see Jesus, his brave expression in the face of death, his earnest look when he asked me to put him down. I close my eyes, trying to block out their faces. I still feel the jolt of the knife when it punched through Jesus's temple and into his skull. I still feel the way the air vibrated when Lila discharged the gun into her own head. I shrink back from the memories, wishing I could hide from them.
The only thing that really makes it better is time.
Ben's gruff voice trickles in from my drunken memories of the night before. That's when I notice my left arm hanging over the edge of the bed, the skin cold from being left uncovered. My fingers twitch, held in place by something. I scrunch forward and find Ben on the floor, fully clothed. A thin throw blanket is draped over his torso, too small to cover his tall form. His eyes are open. He gives my hand a squeeze before releasing it. I realize with a shock that he's been here with me all night. I'm equal parts grateful and embarrassed. Our eyes meet. When's the last time you had to hold back a girl's hair? I ask.
Technically, you don't have any hair to hold back.
I squint at him. Did you just make a joke? His response is cautious.
Did you think it was funny?
I'll let you know later, when my head doesn't hurt so much. The skin around his eyes crinkles. I think that might be his version of a smile. Another thing to ponder when my head doesn't feel like it's going to crack in half. I reach out and find his hand. Thanks for everything you did last night. He squeezes my hand without speaking. It's what Ben does that always touches me. It's the tattoos on his arms commemorating 30 years of life and loss in the army. It's the way he looked after me last night when I was no better than a drunk teenager. It's the warm coffee on a cold morning. It's the way he holds my hand in silence right now. I remain prone on the bed, eyes closed, I savor the feel of Ben's hand in mine. His palm is rough with calluses, his grip strong. I like the way it feels. I like him more and more every day. My eyes snap open. I forgot. I have a present for you.
A what?
He frowns, as though convinced he didn't hear me correctly. A present. For you. Don't get too excited. It's not a Ferrari or anything. I push myself into a sitting position with a groan. My stomach threatens to revolt. I lean back against the wall to let it settle. Ben, watching the operation, wordlessly hands me a bottle of water. I down it with a grateful sigh.
How are you feeling?
Ben ventures. How am I feeling? I want to stay in bed and let the world fade away. I don't want to wait out the agony of losing Lila and Jesus. I don't want to face the terror of losing more of my new family every morning when I get up. I want to run away from it all. But after Federico died, I made myself a promise that I wouldn't run away from my problems. I owe it to him to stick it out. Hell, I owe it to all the kids. I want to tell Ben all of this. But instead, I say, I feel like any college kid feels after a night of binge drinking. I groan again as I fumble at the top desk drawer. My brain feels like it wants to pound its way out of my skull. Here. I produce a stick of secret deodorant and hand it to Ben. His brow furrows. He turns it over in his hands, frown deepening.
Are you trying to tell me something?
My eyes widen. That's not... I didn't mean it that way. We're all a little smelly. That's for your chafing. He stares at me.
My what?
Your waist? The chafing from your fatigues.
I thought runners used Vaseline for chafing.
No. I shake my head, grimacing at the backlash of pain. There's too much moisture in Vaseline. That just makes it worse. Antiperspirants work much better. They're designed to get rid of moisture. I use it under my sports bra. At the mention of my sports bra, his eyes travel to my chest. I clear my throat, feeling embarrassed. I've never had much up top. Even less with constant running chewing up my fat reserves. You're carrying a lot of heavy fabric around your waist, I say. I don't know how well it will work, but it's worth a try. He averts his gaze, suddenly absorbed in the blue deodorant stick. He turns it over in his hands, face unreadable. After what seems like forever, he shakes his head and sticks it into his pocket.
Thank you. It's weird as shit, but I'll try it.
It's the least I can do. You know, for holding up my non-existent hair while I puked like a high school kid on prom night. His eyes soften.
Any time.
He hesitates before reaching across the short distance that separates us. He cups my hands between both of his, running his thumbs over my palms. He's never looked at me the way he's looking at me now. I'm too hungover to grapple with the emotion squirming around in my chest. All I know is that I want to hang on to his hand. Hell, I want to do more than that. I want to hang on to him. I don't do either. I force myself to my feet, breaking away from him. I swallow against the sudden dryness in my throat. We should go check on the others. Realizing I'm being an asshole, I attempt to soften the abruptness. None of them had a sober friend looking over them last night. I give him a soft smile, wishing I didn't feel like vomiting all over my bare feet. The skin around his eyes crinkles again. I decide it's definitely his version of a smile. I've never seen Ben smile before today. It looks good on him.
"Let's go,"
he says to me.
"We don't want to leave the little shitheads up to their own devices. No telling what they'll get up to unsupervised."
As we exit the room side by side, I lament my obscene intake of alcohol. I'm in no state to deal with whatever is manifesting between me and Ben. Somewhere in the last 24 hours, things between us have changed. I make a silent promise to think on it when my head stops hurting. Right now, I have my kids to think about. I don't intend to fail them again. I may have been drunk last night, but that doesn't mean my brain wasn't working. At least, it was before my 6th or 7th shot of whatever that brown stuff was. Our campus was almost overrun yesterday. The appearance of the alpha zombies has changed everything. We have to adapt to our new environment if we want to survive. I won't risk leaving us vulnerable again. I have a plan. "28. Fortifications." Kate. Surrounded by the Creekside crew on the rooftop of the dorm, I shade my eyes and survey the campus below. My brain feels like it's taking an axe to my skull, though I do my best to conceal the ill effects of my hangover.
"Dude."
Beside me, Johnny squints. Based on his grimace, he's as hungover as the rest of us.
"I wish you'd let us use some of that Tylenol."
Nope. I keep my eyes on the ground below. Resources are finite. Hangovers don't qualify for medication.
"Carter, your mom is a hard ass,"
Johnny mutters. "I'm having a moment," Jenna says, who stands on my other side. "What sort of moment?" Ash asks. "One of those moments where you fall asleep drunk," Jenna replies. "Then you wake up and you're not drunk anymore, but the alcohol is still in your body and everything hurts like hell."
"I think we all had that moment, babe,"
Carter says.
"We are that moment,"
Reed adds. I'm glad the mood is lighter today. Grief isn't something we can escape, but I hope Ben is right. I hope we'll scab over with time. Standing with my Creekside family gives me strength. It's a good reminder not to let grief get the better of me. Last night was for loss and sadness, but now it's time to lock that grief away and get on with living. I can't take care of my living kids if I wallow in the ones I've lost.
"There are still a lot out there on campus."
Caleb stands on the corner of the building, binoculars up to his face.
"They're in clumps of 5 to 10,
Ben says, also with a pair of binoculars. It's better than I had hoped. Even though there are a fair number of zombies on campus, their numbers are spread out. I have a plan to deal with them. I turn to my companions. Let's go back downstairs. I want to gather everyone for a Creekside meeting. Once in the main dorm, I lean up against the wall beside the flat screen and Xbox. I take in the faces of all those who have entrusted me with their safekeeping. Carter and Jenna, holding hands. Eric, looking lost and dazed without Lila. Reed, eyes puffy from missing Jesus. Caleb and Ash, always near one another but never in physical contact. Our newest companion, Susan, with her husband still unconscious in a dorm room. And Ben. Sometimes I think he should be leading our small group. He knows more and has more experience than I could ever hope to have. Except even I'm not dumb enough to think he could hold our small family together. The kids count on me for that. First, we need to clear the university. We're going to split into 2 teams and kill every zombie on campus. I'll lead one team and sweep west. Carter, You lead the second team and sweep east." My son nods. "If you encounter any alphas, be sure to take them out first. The rest of the zombs will be confused when their alpha goes down. That will give you ample opportunity to take them out." That's Phase 1. "What's Phase 2? Jenna asks. "We can't continue as we have. Humboldt University isn't safe." I sweep my eyes over them. "We have to fortify Creekside. That's Phase 2. They shift and exchange looks. Susan raises a hand. "Yes, Susan?" "You don't expect us to blow up more buildings, do you?" "Nothing that extreme. But you are right about one thing. Our home needs a wall." "Like a medieval village?" Jenna says. "Exactly. We're going to start with Creekside and all the neighboring dorms that share our parking lot. We create a home base that is secure and self-sufficient. We can't run around blowing up buildings every time a horde comes. The way I see it, there could be a lot more. We don't know how prevalent this alpha phenomenon is."
"How do you plan to build the fortifications?"
Ben asks. "We dig up the fencing along the frontage road and bring it here," I reply. "I saw bags of cement in the maintenance shop a few weeks ago. We erect the fence here in the gaps between the dorm buildings. Then we get some cars, put them in neutral, roll them in front of our perimeter, and pop the tires. We scavenge rebar from the rubble of College Creek and jam them into the hoods and front grills of the cars. These will impale zombies that get too close." I make eye contact with everyone in the room. It's not a sophisticated plan, but it will work with the resources and manpower we have. I push off from the wall. We need to get started right away. I'm putting all endurance workouts on hold for a week. All our efforts need to be focused on campus clearance and fortifications.
"Did you come up with all this while you were drunk last night?"
Reed asks. "Yes?"
"Raise your hand if you think Mama Bear should drink more often."
Reed sticks his arm in the air. His tone is light, but his usual big grin is dull. I can tell he's trying to rally. A few others also raise their hands, smiles rippling around the room. "Let's get to work," I reply. "We're burning daylight. We have a home to fortify." "29. Shark bait." Kate. I should be excited. After 2 days of hard clearance, we've managed to kill all the large packs of zombies on campus. After another 4 days of work, we've managed to relocate and install fencing between all the dorm buildings. And now, barely a week after we rescued him, Gary is conscious and well enough to meet all of us at Creekside. And while I am happy about all these things, I'm too exhausted to feel real enthusiasm. Ever since the Alpha attack, sleep has been even more elusive than usual. I crunch on a few stale coffee beans, wishing for an intravenous injection of caffeine. A few people watch me critically as I pop the beans, particularly Ben and Carter, but no one says anything.
"Hey, look,"
Reed says with forced cheer from his seat on the couch.
"It's shark bait."
I look up as Susan and Ash enter the main sitting room. Susan pushes a wheelchair in front of her, which Eric and Reed had found inside of a janitor's closet a few days ago. In the wheelchair is Gary. He's pale and gaunt, but his eyes are alert. From the smell of things, he's just had his first shower since getting attacked by a great white. His dark brown hair is still wet, sticking up at wild angles. "Reed," Jenna frowns at him. "Don't call him that. Hey, Gary. Welcome to Creekside."
"Hey, guys.
Gary grins at us, a good-natured smile landing on Reed.
It's cool. I like shark bait better than shark food.
You're in an awfully good mood for someone who almost died,
Ben remarks. Gary is cheerfully unapologetic.
Thanks to all of you, my wife and I are alive. If that's not enough to put a man in a good mood, I don't know what is.
I like this guy already, Jenna says.
Yeah, I'm glad we risked our lives to save him.
Caleb adds.
I know I can't do much until my leg heals, Gary says, but I want to help. Give me a job to do. Maybe I can cook?
The sudden silence that descends is like a wet blanket. The good cheer Gary brought to the room is snuffed out. Ben's face darkens into a scowl. No one has volunteered to cook since Lila died. Meals consist of someone picking out a bunch of canned goods from our supply room and heating them over the camp stove. My last meal consisted of warmed-up green beans. Gary, sensing the shift, looks from us to Susan in confusion.
I said something. Whatever it was, I'm sorry.
It's not right to take out our collective sorrow on Gary. I throw back a few more coffee beans and cross the room to him. I'm Kate. I shake his hand. We're glad you're finally awake. I make introductions, going around the room.
Seriously, I owe you guys,
Gary says.
Thanks for everything. Susan says Ash worked day and night to fight off the infection and keep me alive.
Caleb flashes a proud smile at Ash.
She's good at what she does. We're all lucky to have her.
I can't tell if Caleb's compliment has a deeper meaning behind it. I haven't been able to figure out the extent of their relationship. As far as I can tell, things haven't changed between them since Jesus died. They share a dorm room, but even when they're asleep, the door is always open. They're never far from one another, but I have yet to see them touch. We are lucky to have Ash, I agree. If you really want to step up and be in charge of the kitchen, the job is yours. No need to tell him we lost our previous chef to zombies. I don't think anyone is ready to talk about it, least of all me.
I'm in,
Gary says.
I was the cook for guests on our charter boat. I'm not a trained chef, but I can put stuff together that tastes good.
Eric and Reed start coughing. Small smiles pull at the lips of my people. Even Ben shakes his head as though amused by the comment. It's nice to feel the tension of the past week slacken.
What did I say?
Gary asks. We don't eat much that tastes great, I say as diplomatically as I can.
I'll do what I can to remedy that. Just show me where the supplies are.
We leave Gary with several boxes of food stores, placing them on the floor to make it easy for him to sort. Despite being confined to a wheelchair, he eagerly sets about going through them. The rest of us head outside, returning to the fortification of our home. For a man who almost died, he's in good spirits, I say to Susan, as the two of us finish rolling a car into place in front of our fence. I'm so exhausted that all I want to do is sleep. Even Gary's recovery isn't enough to give me a boost of energy. He's always like this. A happy smile spreads across Susan's face. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with him. He always got great tips from people on our boat. She taps her fingers on the hood of the car. Do you think we should pop the tires now? Let's wait until we're finished getting all the cars into place. We're 2/3 of the way finished with this phase of the fortifications. Come on, let's go get the silver Mini Coupe. I plod beside Susan, steps heavy with fatigue. I have a few more coffee beans stashed in my pocket. I crunch on them as we walk a short way down Granite Avenue to the Mini Cooper. Are those good? Susan points to the beans. Honestly? No. They're stale.
So you're eating them because you're so tired you could fall asleep standing up?
Is it that obvious? Susan nods.
No one would be upset if you took the afternoon off and napped.
Like I couldn't nap even if I tried. I shake my head. My place is out here with everyone else, making sure our home is safe. Susan gives me a sidelong look, but doesn't say anything. We reach the mini coop. The doors are all locked, something we've run into more times than I can count. Susan pulls out a large rock wrapped in a t-shirt, which hangs from her belt. Our official tool for our task of breaking into cars. She smashes the window and unlocks the doors. A few minutes later, the mini coupe is in neutral and the two of us are pushing it up the road. 300 yards away, a small pack of zombies stumble into view. Eric, Johnny, Caleb, and Ash stop what they're doing and fan out to eliminate the undead. From the haphazard resistance the zombies put up, it's clear none of them are alphas. After our initial clearance of the campus right after the attack, we haven't run into too many zombs. It's nice to know our destruction of the library and dorms wasn't for nothing.
We owe you our lives,
Susan says as she watches our people.
I've never properly thanked you for what you've done for me and Gary.
Let's see, I say, attempting to make light of the situation. When we met you, your husband was unconscious from a shark attack. The day after you arrive at Creekside, we're attacked by alpha zombie hordes and are forced to blow up some buildings. I make it a point not to mention the wake, or the burial of our friends in the rubble of College Creek. Then I make everyone relocate fence panels and reinforce them with cars. Oh, and somewhere in between all that, your husband wakes up. I smile at her through the open car window as we continue to push the mini coupe. You've had a lot on your mind. Susan shakes her head.
I could say thank you every day for the rest of my life, and it still wouldn't be enough. Can you steer a little to the left?
I adjust the steering wheel. The mini coupe slides neatly into place between two cars. Carter and Jenna roll up a few minutes later, pushing a beat-up Ford Mustang between them. Susan and I guide them into place. The Mustang completes the section of the wall around the Juniper and Creekside dorm buildings. I survey the barrier, knowing I should feel satisfied. All I feel is exhausted. Good work, I say. Let's try and finish this section of the wall today. I gesture to the gap between Fern and Laurel dorms. I saw more cars down in the parking lot of the Jolly. The Jolly is a big common area that used to be frequented by students.
So you and Gary ran a commercial fishing boat?
Carter asks as the four of us walk together down the road.
A charter boat. We took people out for fishing, whale watching, and kayaking. We were on our boat with 2 tourists from New York when the outbreak hit. One customer started eating his friend. Gary tried to separate them but couldn't. At the time, we didn't know the guy was a zombie. We thought he was just some rich prick who bought some bad drugs. Anyway, Gary ended up hitting him in the head with a fire extinguisher. He only meant to stun him, but accidentally hit him too hard. The other guy, the one who was bitten, bled out on the deck of our boat. We were so scared. We thought we were facing manslaughter charges. We threw the bodies overboard. Our plan was to stay in the boat and sail down to Mexico before the authorities caught up to us.
Susan lets out a long sigh.
We hadn't gone far when we heard about the outbreak on the radio and figured out what was really happening. No one was using the zombie word, but all the news reports talked about people going berserk and eating other people. We decided to stay put and live on the boat until everything blew over. You know how that worked out. And now here we are.
I try to imagine what it would be like to watch the world end from afar. It occurs to me that Susan and Gary haven't spent much time in the world of zombies. That makes me appreciate their willingness to help and be a part of our community even more. I suppose there is some brightness in this fucked up world. "30. Foot Soldier. Kate. I hike toward the Creekside common room, glancing at my watch. It's time for a check-in call with Alvarez. We missed the last check-in due to the Alpha attack, and he missed the check-in before that. I'm anxious to catch up with my young friend. Upon reaching the main dorm, I find Carter and Jenna there. They collect their library books to make room for me at the kitchen table with the ham radio. Carter gives me a firm hug, something he's taken to doing every time he sees me. I hug him back, grateful for my son, then settle down in front of the ham radio. "Mama Bear to Foot Soldier, are you there? Over."
Mama Bear, this is Foot Soldier. Good to hear your voice. You missed our last scheduled check-in. Over.
Alvarez. I sigh in relief at the sound of his voice, tossing a few coffee beans into my mouth. "I wasn't the only one to miss a check-in. You missed the one before that." I dispense with the official radio jargon.
It couldn't be helped. A few of my people were nabbed by some bandits that came through the area.
His voice turns harsh and brittle.
No way those assholes were going to get away with taking my people. I went back to the fort and pulled together a full platoon. We got them back.
"Is everyone okay?" Silence drags through the ham radio for long moments.
We lost 2. 2 more were shot, but they're on the mend. On the bright side, we acquired a doctor. He was being held captive by the raiders.
Maybe your doctor can talk to Ash, our medic. We have a man recovering from a shark attack.
How did one of your people get attacked by a shark?
He wasn't one of mine when he was attacked. He and his wife own a charter boat. They were at sea when the shit hit the fan. Survived out there for months. I lay out the rest of the story, including our rescue of Gary and Susan.
Shit. That's bad luck. Shark attack during the zombie apocalypse. Let's set up a time for our doctor to talk to your medic.
Thanks, Foot Soldier. I owe you one.
You can pay me back with another trip to the library. Can you find me a book on fish farming and fish management? One of the women in our group wants to start a fish hatchery. She used to work for Fish and Game and knows how to run one, but not how to build one.
I stare at the ham radio, not sure how to tell Alvarez that we lost the library. It hurts to think about all that knowledge buried in rubble. It doesn't help that it was my idea to blow it up.
Mama Bear? You still there? Over.
I'm here, Foot Soldier. I'm sorry to tell you this, but the library is gone.
Gone? What do you mean, gone?
We had a situation up here. It's the reason I missed our last check-in call. I relay an abridged version of the last week and a half. From the appearance of the Alphas to our battle to protect the university, and to our work on the new fortifications around the dorm. Alvarez lets out a long whistle when I finish.
And I thought things were fucked up on my end.
Have you guys seen any Alphas in your area? I ask.
No, not yet. I'll be sure to warn my people and let you know if we see anything.
His voice sharpens.
Can you back up to the part where you guys blew up the library? That's a big loss for all of us.
I know. We didn't have a choice. We created a barricade that buried half the horde and diverted the rest away from the campus.
So you have a primary wall on the south end of campus, And you're building a secondary fortification around the dorms?
Yeah. We've been working from sunup to sundown for the last week. We have another few days of hard work in front of us, but it's getting there.
Damn, Mama Bear. Sounds like you're going to have your own fortress up there. Is everyone in your group okay?
My throat tightens as I think of Jesus and Lila. All I can bring myself to say is, I lost 2 of my people too.
I'm sorry to hear that. I know how hard that is. Are you sleeping?
I snort. Right. His commiserative chuckle rolls out of the receiver.
I feel your pain, Mama Bear.
I close my eyes, comforted by his empathy. Like Ben, Alvarez knows how I feel. He's lost people too. It's one of the reasons I look forward to our ham radio chats every 3 days. Alvarez and I both lead our small communities. It's nice to have someone in my same position to talk to. He knows what it means to have people depending on him.
Don't let the grief and the guilt distract you from your primary mission, Alvarez says. Focus on the living.
Is that how you get through the days?
Yeah. Sometimes it's the only thing that gets me through.
I inhale deeply, flinching away from the memory of my knife as it slid through Jesus' skull, of Lila's ruined head when her body hit the ground. I summon a mental image of my living family: Carter, Jenna, Johnny, Eric, Reed, Ash, Caleb, and Ben. I let their presence fill me, pushing back the darkness.
Mama Bear?
I'm here.
I'd take your alphas over my bandits. You know when I said they kidnapped a few of my people?
A sick lump forms in my stomach. Yeah?
The people they took were women. One of them just a teenager.
Shit. I breathe.
We found them, but not before they... It was a long 48 hours, Kate. The worst part is that 2 of the fuckers got away. I'd feel better if they were all dead. Knowing they're still out there makes me uneasy.
I know how he feels. I couldn't live with the threat of Johnson hanging over us. If these bandits hurt his people, Alvarez must be chomping at the bit to even the scales. Don't give up, I say. Double up on watch. They might show themselves again, especially if they're short on supplies.
I almost wish they would.
Alvarez's laugh is hollow.
I'd like nothing more than to gut those fuckers with our fishhooks. Have I told you about those?
Even though I can't see Alvarez's face, I can tell by his tone that he wants to change the subject. You haven't mentioned the fishhooks.
Big fucking things, like the size of a small baby. Apparently they're used for tuna fishing. We found some on a scavenging run. We're getting pretty good at fishing.
My son and his girlfriend want to figure out a way to fish for oysters in Humboldt Bay.
Oysters, huh? I wouldn't turn my nose up at that idea.
Yeah, except there's no safe way to navigate downtown Arcata right now. We have no way of knowing how many alphas are out there.
You'll figure something out, Mama Bear. You always do. If you could figure out how to run 200 miles through a zombie apocalypse, you can figure this out.
Alvarez and I talk for another few minutes before Johnny shows up. He's been interviewing people from Fort Ross for one of the many books he's writing. I say my goodbye to Alvarez and pass the ham to Johnny. As I exit the room, chewing on another few coffee beans, my gaze travels across the room to the shrine Jesus built to St. Roche. Reed hung his pendant inside. I stare at the pendant. Something Alvarez said tickles the back of my mind.
If you could figure out how to run 200 miles through a zombie apocalypse, You can figure this out.
I pause, my exhausted mind spinning. When running, how many times have I faced an unknown? Why should this situation be any different? All I have to do is break it into manageable chunks. That's what I always did with a long, hard race. Dissected them, developed tactics for different terrains, weathers, and altitudes. An idea takes shape in my mind. Alvarez is right. The alphas are a challenge to be overcome. I just need to develop a complex training plan to deal with them. And I know just how to start. "31. Idea. Ben."
When he pads into his room a little after midnight, Ben has the shock of his life. He flicks on his light and finds Kate curled up on his bottom dorm bunk, her head on his pillow. On the bed beside her is the collected works of Henry James. Her eyes flutter open at the rush of light. He stands frozen. He'd be a lying sack of shit if he denied daydreaming about this very scene. Except he's pretty sure her reason for being in his bed doesn't match up with his fantasy. If that was the case, she wouldn't be wearing a thick jacket and blue jeans. She looks like complete shit, though Ben has been wise enough to keep this observation to himself. She's barely slept since Lila and Jesus died. She's working herself to the bone and popping coffee beans like they're candy. He gets it. Sometimes it's easier to be exhausted than alone with your own thoughts. Kate sits up, awakened by the light. If Ben had known she was sleeping in here, he wouldn't have gone near the light switch.
"I think I fell asleep."
Kate rubs at her eyes.
"I was waiting to talk to you."
He waits in silence, not trusting himself to speak. The last thing he wants to do is to provoke her into moving. He could stare at her in his bed for hours, even if she is dressed like she's ready to go outside. That thought brings a frown. Why is she dressed like she's going outside? It's the middle of the night.
"I have an idea,"
Kate says. Fuck. He should have known. And you thought midnight was a good time to work out the details?
"I don't want the others to know."
She has the grace to look guilty, though not for long.
"I need your help, Ben. I want to capture an alpha."
He closes the bedroom door so as not to wake anyone. "I don't think I heard you correctly." He narrows his eyes at her. "Did you just say you want to catch an alpha?" She looks him straight in the eye.
"Yes."
There is no response that properly conveys the lunacy of this conversation. Also, he's pretty sure he'll wake the entire fucking floor if he opens his mouth. He does the only sensible thing he can think of. He turns his back to her, shrugs out of his coat, and tosses it across the back of a chair. Then he sits down in the same chair and begins unlacing his boots.
"Ben."
Kate frowns at him.
"Did you hear what I said?"
"I'm trying to unhear it, Kate." She slips off the bed and comes to stand before him.
"Hear me out."
"No." His belt comes off, and he drapes it over the jacket on the chair back. His cig and the holster go on top of the desk. The boots go under the desk. Everything in its place. This brings some semblance of stability to the current situation. He shoulders past Kate, grabbing the ladder to the top bunk. I'm going to bed. You can keep the bottom bunk if you want. Kate's arm snakes out, blocking him.
Will you listen to me?
Two things happen. Her words fan a wildfire within him, heating his carefully tamped anger to an all-time high. Her proximity, coupled with the fact that she's in his bedroom with the door closed, sends a white-hot spear of arousal through him. Both emotions are so intense he can't see straight. He wants to shout at Kate and kiss her at the same time. Only his indecision on the matter keeps his feet welded to the floor and his mouth clenched shut. She must see or sense something, because she drops her arm and steps back.
I'm sorry. I need to explain. I've been thinking about the Alphazons. They're a puzzle we need to solve. There are so many things we don't know about them, but the most important fact is their language. They communicate, Ben. They speak and they organize. We need to learn their language.
And how exactly do you plan to learn their language? He demands. How is capturing one of those fucking things going to help with that?
I don't know.
Kate throws up her hands.
I don't know. Okay?
Because it's impossible, he snarls. If we bring a dog to Creekside, we're not going to miraculously learn how to boss it around by barking.
But people across time have learned how to communicate with animals. Why should this be any different?
He's going to blow a gasket. It's that simple. He can't hold it back any longer. The mental image of Kate risking her life to catch an alpha, then subsequently putting herself at risk every fucking day by trying to figure out how to communicate with it, makes him want to break something. He opens his mouth, anger-fueled words gathering in his throat. Kate, seeing his face, presses a hand over his mouth. The contact is enough to distract him, giving Kate her opening.
Before you go apeshit, hear me out. We have to adapt. 3 months ago, I wouldn't have dreamed of letting any of you snipe zombies. Now it has to be done any time there's an alpha sighting. We need to learn everything we can about the alphas if Creekside is going to survive.
Her mouth tightens. God damn it. He knows that look. It's her, the devil and all the armies of hell can't stop me. Look. The worst part of all this is that she isn't wrong. They do need to adapt. He's known it for a while. But he was thinking more along the lines of extending the perimeter of the dorms to include other parts of campus. Not capturing an alpha and bringing it home like a rabid pet.
I know it's a crazy plan,
Kate says.
A lot of my plans are crazy. But I need your help. I trust you to have my back. If I have to do something stupid, I want you by my side.
Her words take his breath away. His anger is snuffed out in a millisecond, replaced with something else. Unable to digest the sudden onslaught of feelings, he turns away. You couldn't have said all that before I took my boots off, he grumbles.
Does that mean you'll come?
Yes. He grabs his belt, cig, and jacket, settling them back into place. No way in hell I'd let you go out there alone. You know that.
Thank you, Ben.
The smile she gives him is so bright, he has to look away. To be honest, I was hoping you'd give up and take the bottom bunk. He shoves his feet back into his boots.
You didn't really think I would, did you?
No. He frowns down at her. That's not your style. He pushes past her, grabbing his headlamp on the way out. The moon is almost full, but having extra light won't hurt. The ache in his crotch doesn't subside until he's all the way downstairs and has some fresh air in his face. The woman is going to be the death of him in more ways than one. She too dons a headlamp and flicks it on as they head outside. They're halfway across the compound, heading toward the gate, when a voice stops them. "Where are you guys going?" Kate and Ben freeze like two teenagers caught sneaking out of the house. Ben glances at his watch. 12:16 at night. Eric comes out of the front door of Laurel Dorm, a roll of packing tape in one hand.
"What are you doing?"
Kate asks. "Inventorying food in Laurel. I did another sweep and found a bunch more edibles."
"In the middle of the night?"
Eric shrugs. Apparently, insomnia is rampant in this compound. "So, what are you guys doing?" Eric asks again. Ben doesn't even bother trying to answer. This is all Kate's idea. She can decide what she wants to tell Eric.
"We're running an errand," she replies. "We'll be back in a few hours."
"An errand?" Eric raises a skeptical eyebrow.
"We'll be back soon."
Kate attempts to march past him. Eric isn't so easily brushed off. "You're leaving the compound?" he asks, incredulous. "You're going outside, in the middle of the night?" Ben grunts. This is going about how he'd expected, and Eric isn't about to be deterred. "I'm coming with you. Whatever you're planning, I'll help."
"You don't even know what we're doing,"
Kate replies. Eric eyes them. "As long as you're helping Creekside, I'm in. Unless..." He frowns at them. "You guys aren't, going out for a romantic stroll or something?" Once again, Ben decides to let Kate field the question. There's nothing he can say that won't make him look like an idiot. Not the least of which is the fact he'd actually consider a stroll outside these walls in the middle of the night if it were with Kate.
"No,"
Kate says quickly.
"We're going to catch an alphazom. We're going to bring it back and study it."
She delivers these two sentences like a threat, as though they'll kick some common sense into Eric. Common sense that Kate herself doesn't have. Unfortunately, these kids are almost as crazy as their surrogate mother. Eric actually perks up at the idea. "Good idea," he says. "I have some extra rope and Laurel. Be right back."
"Grab the dolly, too,"
Kate calls after him. To Ben, she says,
"Might as well make use of him if he insists on coming."
"Dolly? For the Alpha transport?" Ben asks.
"Yeah."
"It's a good idea. Better than him carrying an undead fucker over his shoulder, which is what he assumed he'd be doing until now." 3 minutes later, he, Kate, and Eric exit the compound together with the dolly. Where are we going? Eric asks as they close and lock the gate. Kate doesn't answer right away. This puts Ben's hackles up. You know where one is, don't you? He asks. She looks at him.
Yes, I found it a few days ago when I was digging up fencing.
Where is it? From the look on Kate's face, he isn't going to like the answer.
It's down on the freeway, sandwiched between a few cars and a whole lot of zombies.
How do you know it's an alpha?
Eric asks.
The way the others react to it. It's trying to give orders to make the horde move, but they're in a logjam with all the abandoned cars and bodies.
And your plan to get the alpha? Ben has no doubt Kate has something up her sleeve. Her large backpack has not escaped his notice.
I have some rope,
Kate says.
I think we can drop the rope around its neck and pull it up. "32. Carnival game. Kate. Ben is such a skeptic. If he weren't so capable, I wouldn't have bothered to ask him along. Or at least, this is what I tell myself. The truth is that I feel safe when he's around. Trusting Ben feels like vulnerability. I don't like it. Yet I can't seem to separate myself from it. It will work, I tell Ben and Eric. They hit me with cloned expressions of incredulity.
You want to drop a rope around an alpha's neck and pull it up from the freeway,
Eric echoes. At least my plan was clear. Yes. I look at Ben. If you don't like it, you have between now and the time we arrive at the overpass to come up with something better. He scowls at me. I turn away and keep walking, knowing he'll follow. We've done a good job of clearing the campus. The university isn't leak-proof yet, but I have ideas how to make it a true safe zone, just as soon as we bag an alpha and start studying it. Tonight, the sidewalks and roads are quiet, deserted. I walk with Ben and Eric on either side of me down Granite Avenue. Eric pushes a dolly. This road has changed so much. No longer littered with bodies of murdered students and subsequently cleared of zombies, it almost looks like it did before the apocalypse. If you can ignore the shattered windows, broken doors, abandoned cars, and a complete lack of ambient light. The milling horde down on the freeway fills the air with a gentle hum. The farther we walk, the louder it becomes. When we reach the end of Granite Avenue, I pad up to the chain-link fence that lines the 20-foot drop to the freeway. The beam of my headlamp casts light on the scene. I take in the tight pack of zombies crammed below. There are several hundred, all of them remnants of the monster horde that came here from Eureka. For the moment, we're safe from them. The walls of the freeway keep them penned off. Even so, they aren't a problem I plan to ignore. I've been thinking of ways to get rid of them. The best idea I've come up with so far is to dump some gasoline from the overpass and drop a few matches. The problem with that plan is there's no guarantee the fire will remain contained. The last time I set something on fire, half of the Arcata Plaza was incinerated. I'll figure something out. For now, I need to focus on the task at hand. Catching an alpha.
It's over there?
Eric points to a red pickup truck beneath the overpass. A tight cluster of zombs swirls around a center point. Yeah, the alpha is there. If it weren't dark, they'd be able to see the gray-haired woman in the navy blue sweatshirt. 10 minutes later, we reach the overpass. Ben has a knife in each hand, eyes flicking up and down the road. It's clear for the moment, but there are zombies not too far away in downtown Arcata. I drop my pack to the ground and pull out a coil of rope and a Boy Scout handbook.
Polishing up your knot-tying skills?
Ben frowns at the Boy Scout book. Yeah. I loosen the noose I've tied, creating a large loop to drop over the Alpha's neck.
What if we accidentally pull off its head when we drag it up here?
Eric asks. I shrug. Maybe the head will still work. Ben and Eric exchange tight looks. In that single exchange, I can see how much the two of them dislike this whole idea. Well, I don't like it much either. If my gut didn't tell me it was the right thing to do, I wouldn't even be out here trying it. Ben, you keep watch on the overpass. Make sure no zombies sneak up on us. Eric, help me with the Alpha. Ben takes up position in the center of the overpass. Eric watches me as I pick up the rope. I spread my stance and press my hips against the cement barrier for balance, peering into the mass of zombies below. I shine the light on Alpha for my companion. The Alpha woman's gray hair is a dim smudge beneath the starlight, the navy blue sweatshirt invisible in the dark. The Alpha is like the dark center of a flower. The rest of the zombs are like swirling petals of gore around it. I lower the rope over the side. Unfortunately, the Alpha is 5 feet north of the overpass. Dropping it neatly over its head isn't an option. As soon as the rope is 15 feet down, I begin swinging it, forward and back. I gather slack in my other hand. The rope sails out, gliding right over the Alpha. I release the slack. My timing is off. The rope misses and swings back, thumping against several zombies as it does. They moan and spin in small circles, arms swiping at the open air in search of whatever it was that brushed past them. I try 3 more times and miss. This feels like a sick carnival game, I grumble.
You mean the ones that are rigged so you never have a chance to win?
Eric asks. Exactly. Behind me, I hear a moan, followed by the now familiar sound of a skull being crushed. Is Ben okay? I don't take my eyes from the rope as I swing.
He's fine,
Eric replies.
Just took down a straggler. Have you thought about making the noose bigger?
I decide to try it. Otherwise, we could be out here half the night trying to catch the Alpha. I try 4 more times with the enlarged noose. On the 5th try, the noose sails neatly over the head of the Alpha, and the zombie right next to it. Damn it! I growl. I was afraid that would happen. Now I have 2 zombies.
Screw it,
Eric says.
Let's pull them both up.
I nod in agreement, pulling the noose tight. The Alpha and the other zom mash into each other. The Alpha immediately starts to hiss and click, sending all nearby zombies into a frenzy. They push and shove in an outward circle, almost as if they're forming a defensive perimeter around the Alpha. Eric and I strain against the rope as our 2 captives struggle against us. Ben, I call softly. We need your help. He swears when he sees we've accidentally lassoed 2 of the undead.
Fuck me,
he says.
Come on, let's get this over with.
He and Eric plant themselves on either side of me, both of them grasping the rope. On the count of 3, I say. 1, 2, 3. As a unit, we heave. The zombies rise a foot off the ground. The regular zombie hisses and moans, swiping futilely at the air around it. The Alpha lets loose another complicated series of clicks and keens. The zombies around the Alpha double their efforts, pushing outward in a lopsided circle as they attempt to protect their Alpha. Several of the cars groan and creak as the zombies slam into them, sliding a few inches across the pavement.
1, 2, 3, I hiss. 1, 2, 3.
We throw all we've got into pulling the rope upward. The Alpha's commands pick up momentum, its sounds coming faster and more urgently. The monster is halfway up to the overpass, dangling in midair above the horde. The zombies below us grow more and more frenzied. The rope swings chaotically as the two zombies struggle against the bonds. It makes it harder for us to reel in. Sweat beads my temples and drips down my back.
1, 2, 3, I say. 1, 2, 3.
Something scrapes against the pavement behind us. I glance over my shoulder and swear. 3 zombies have drifted onto the overpass, no doubt called by the urgency of the Alpha.
You go,
Ben says.
We'll get the fuckers up here.
I don't argue. I break away, leaving them to wrangle the zombs. I pull out the short metal zombat from Jesus, holding it in my right hand. In my left hand is a knife. The zombies lurch across the overpass, drawn to the call of the Alpha. Shit, they're moving fast. I advance on the closest of them, putting myself between it and my people. I move on tiptoe, striking before it even realizes I'm there. My zombat caves in its frontal lobe and drops the monster. In the 30 seconds this takes me, the other 2 zombs have closed in behind Eric and Ben. They're no more than 5 feet away from my 2 friends. I spring back in their direction. I bury my knife in the nearest of them. I don't have time to yank the blade free. I release it and throw myself at the last of them when it's a mere foot from Eric. We hit the pavement, me landing on top. The smell of rot and death rush up my nose and down my throat as it hisses at me. I drive the zombat down. The nose and cheekbones collapse under the force, splattering blood in every direction. I roll to my feet, just as Ben and Eric drag the 2 struggling zombies onto the overpass. Ben knifes the regular zombie, while Eric says,
"We've got to shut this thing up."
He's right. Below, the mass of zombies has started keening. The high-pitched sound crescendos up and down like a knife lacerating the sky. The Alpha continues to click and keen. I grab a handful of rope and shove it into the clacking jaws. A hiss comes out of the thing's mouth, the teeth bearing down on the rope. I lean with all my weight, forcing the wad of rope all the way to the back of its throat. Ben wraps a length around the face.
"We have more company."
Eric darts toward 2 more zombies that have reached the overpass. The Alpha writhes and flops like a dying fish. I sit on its torso, attempting to pin it in place, while Ben ties off the rope around its head. The Alpha bucks, twisting and struggling to break free. Shit. This is a lot more trouble than the time I captured a few zombies with Carter and Jenna. Those undead hadn't been smart enough to even know they'd been captured. I throw all my weight against the Alpha, my feet digging into the concrete as I push the writhing form down.
"Done,"
Ben says, yanking the knot tight over the face. Thank God. I wipe sweat from my eyes. I'll grab the feet, you get the arms. As soon as I remove my weight, the Alpha bucks and almost manages to trip me. I dance to the side, then lunge for its feet. 1 tennis shoe clocks me in the stomach. I grunt and secure my grip around both ankles. Eric has dispatched the 2 zombies, but more are drifting up from downtown Arcata. Shit. Ben and I hustle over to the dolly while Eric heads off another zombie that reaches the overpass. At least a dozen more are coming our way, and the zombies down on the freeway sound like they're ready to riot. At least we've managed to silence the Alpha. I can only hope it will be enough to calm the horde. Ben and I set the Alpha on the dolly. It wriggles like a snake, but I once again sit on top of it while Ben straps it in place. It's secured in under 2 minutes.
Eric!
I whisper-shout. He's poised on the far side of the overpass, waiting as another 3 zombies approach. I gesture to him with both hands. He backs warily away from the zombies before running toward us. The keening has begun to fade. Without the alpha to stir them up, the zombies are already forgetting what it is they were supposed to be doing. Good. With any luck, the dozen making their way toward the overpass will also get distracted and wander off. We jog away, pushing the dolly before us with our prize. (33) Language Department. Kate. I hadn't expected every inhabitant to be awake and anxiously awaiting our return. Apparently, Jenna, who had been on watch when we slipped out, woke everyone when she saw us leave. Everyone is standing just inside the gate when we arrive.
Mom, what the hell?
Carter says.
If you hadn't left with Ben, I'd be out there right now looking for you.
We were worried,
Reed puts in.
I could hardly believe Mama Bear and her old man just waltzed out of here with Eric like it wasn't the apocalypse.
I had an errand, I reply. Then I wheel the Alpha into the compound. Silence greets the introduction of the zombie strapped to the dolly. Then everyone starts talking at once. Susan is incredulous.
You're jeopardizing Creekside and bringing that thing in here?
Mama, are you sick?
Reed puts a hand to my forehead.
About damn time we caught one of these, Johnny says. We need to study it.
Are you stupid?
Ash says.
We need to kill it, not study it.
I hold up my hands to quiet everyone. We'll discuss my actions just as soon as we secure the Alpha Zom.
An alpha?
Susan gapes.
God, this just gets worse.
How did you catch an alpha?
Reed looks impressed.
Man, I wish I could have seen that.
Creekside Common Room, I bark. Everyone go inside and wait there. Ben, Eric, and I will be there shortly.
Do you need an extra hand?
Johnny steps forward, eyes thoughtful as he studies the Alpha.
I can help. I'll help too,
Carter says.
Me too,
Jenna adds. We have it covered. Thank you. I make my voice firm to let them know I can't be wheedled. Creekside Common Room. We'll be there in 15 minutes. They're not happy, but they disperse.
Well, it wasn't a full-scale riot,
Ben mutters beside me.
That went over better than I expected.
I frown at him. Ash called me stupid, and Susan accused me of putting our entire compound at risk. Ben shrugs.
They aren't wrong.
I'm too tired to argue. He, Eric, and I deposit the Alpha Zom in the 2nd floor of Juniper, one of the unused and uninhabited dorms in our compound. We leave the thing strapped to the dolly and lock the door. As we return to Creekside, Eric draws up beside me. His expression is somber.
I agree with you on this. We need to adapt. We need to face this alpha threat and get ahead of it.
Thanks, Eric. That means a lot. Ben grunts, scowling at nothing in particular.
You know I always have your back. No matter what.
I give him a grateful smile. I know, Ben. Thanks. This mollifies him. His expression softens, and he gives me a curt nod. Now it's time to face my people and explain my plan for this monster I've brought into our home. How many of you saw the movie Gorillas in the Mist? Everyone under the age of 30 gives me a blank stare, which means no one except Ben has any idea what I'm talking about. Gorillas in the Mist is the story of a naturalist who went to Africa to study gorillas, I explain. She lived with them and learned how to communicate with them.
You're not saying you want us to immerse ourselves with that thing?
Ash says.
Don't forget about the part where Sigourney Weaver goes on a crusade to protect the gorillas from poachers, Ben adds.
Thank you, Ben. That's not the part of the movie I'm talking about. I'm referring to the part where Sigourney Weaver studies the gorillas and learns how they communicate with each other. Then she learns how to communicate with them. The alphas are communicating with the other zombies. We need to learn their language. Johnny and Gary lean forward. Jenna straightens, waiting intently. Reed's eyebrows fly up and he cocks his head at me in consideration. Ben's expression is grumpy as always, but he's resigned himself to my plan. Everyone else looks at me like I've left the plantation. Carter gapes at me like I've lost my mind. Susan and Caleb look at me like I've brought a great white into the room. Ash looks like she wants to relocate. I have to sell them on this. I have to make them see what I see. All of them. Survival of the fittest, I say. You're either in front of the train or you're getting run over by it. We can sit on our hands while the alphas evolve and organize around us, or we can get the jump on them and figure out how to defend ourselves against them. We can't just keep blowing shit up every time they come around.
No offense, Kate, but I think we should do just that,
Caleb says.
The only good alpha is a dead one.
We've already had to evolve. Think about it. Would we have been using guns in the open to snipe zombs 2 months ago? When Ben and I ran through Arcata ahead of the Eureka horde, we had to shoot an alpha to get through. What I'm saying is that we've already had to evolve. The alphas are forcing our hand. We can't rely on old tactics. We need to study them and adapt our defenses accordingly.
We're talking about monsters inside our home,
Carter says. I rest a hand on his arm. I understand your concern. It's valid. Letting zombies inside our compound is dangerous. We'll board up the doors and windows on the 2nd floor of Juniper and reinforce the stairwell entrance. I look to Ash and the other skeptics. Our safety is the priority. That's why we have to do this. This is the long game. I agree, it's uncomfortable, but think of it like an insurance policy.
You mean it's a bitch to pay, but nice to have when your ass gets rear-ended?
Reed asks.
She means it's like those laps we do at the track. They suck balls, but we're all grateful we're not overweight pigs when we run from zombs.
Ben. Ever the eloquent one. We evolve, I agree. It's the only way to thrive. The minute we stop evolving, we die. It's that simple. Silence. I can see my argument is having an effect. Comprehension is dawning on those who, only a few minutes before, opposed my plan. Ben breaks the silence.
Get over yourselves. You all know she's right.
If my argument swayed the naysayers, Ben's words are a punch to the gut. Maybe it's because he's usually the first to condemn anything remotely risky. It's fortunate I've had the last few hours to sell him on the idea. I see the moment when Ash, Susan, Caleb, and Carter come to my side.
Why does Mom always have to be right?
Carter grumbles. Ben raises an eyebrow.
It's her superpower. You should know that better than any of us.
The Alpha will be under lock and key at all times, I say. It won't escape. Neither will the 2 regular zombies we're going to lock up in there with it.
What?
Eric's chin snaps up.
You want to bring in more?
We need to watch an Alpha with its pack. We have to give it a pack to command if we want to learn how it's done.
Carter and I know how to catch regular zombies.
Jenna gives me a tentative smile.
We helped you do that before.
I nod. A few pillowcases and some string did the trick that time. Those zombies had been a walk in the park compared to the Alpha.
How do you plan to observe them when you have them locked up?
Gary asks. We'll cut a hole in the ceiling on the 3rd floor. All observations will happen from above. Johnny's hand shoots up.
I want to lead the research team.
He cracks his knuckles. I haven't seen him look this jazzed since he started work on his How to Thrive in the Apocalypse book.
I'll decipher their language.
What makes you an expert?
Ash asks.
Do you even speak more than one language?
Johnny gives her an incredulous look.
I'm a writer. Language is my thing.
He glances at me.
Words are my superpower.
The job is yours, Johnny.
I volunteer to be his assistant.
Gary's hand shoots up into the air.
I want to help. When I'm not cooking, I can be observing.
Dude!
Eric slaps him a high five.
We're the language department of the apocalypse. Undead language department,
Reed declares.
We need to make you guys a door plaque. Are you going to keep office hours?
What's your qualification?
Ash asks Gary.
My fucked up leg.
Gary says this with what I have come to regard as a perpetual well of cheeriness.
It's perfect for sitting in the same place for hours on end.
Excuse me.
Susan raises her hand.
Sweetheart, not to be a downer, but how do you propose to get down the stairs, across the parking lot, and up to the 3rd floor of Juniper?
Everyone contemplates his wheelchair in silence. Gary's brows knit together.
We don't have to overthink this,
Johnny says.
I'll just grab some 2x4s and make a portable ramp. We have that pile we grabbed from the wood shop. It'll be good exercise for me to push Gary up and down the stairs since I've been out with tendinitis. What he said.
Gary points at Johnny.
Just until you can get yourself on a pair of crutches,
Johnny adds.
And so long as you know there are no in and out privileges. Once you're in Juniper, you're there till it's time for you to make dinner. Deal.
Gary grins.
When do we get started? I need a video recorder, Johnny says, and a portable voice recorder of some kind. Time to scavenge.
Reed rubs his hands together with a grin.
I love going through other people's shit.
I broke my favorite bong last week. Maybe I'll find a decent replacement.
34. Company. Kate.
Mom!
Carter pounds twice on my bedroom door before barging in.
Mom, get up!
The urgency in his voice has me bolting upright. What is it?
There are people outside.
Alarm spikes through me. What kind of people? I jam my feet into my shoes. The last time people found us, they stole our food and threatened to kill us.
Families.
The word stops me cold. Families. Carter's lips are tight.
Yeah.
I snag my jacket off the floor and pull it on over my t-shirt. Jenna is waiting for us in the hall.
Caleb was on watch and spotted them, she says. They got here just before sunrise. Caleb has his rifle trained on them.
We hustle into the stairwell, up to the 3rd floor, and then climb the ladder to the roof. We've been busy the past few days, having completed our ring of cars around the compound as an extra line of defense. The only thing we have left to do is place the rebar poles to impale zombies, and there's a pile in the parking lot waiting for us. Caleb, Ben, and Ash are all crouched on the edge of Creekside, rifles to their shoulders. The sky is a murky blue, the rising sun staining the horizon a blotchy yellow. I hurry to the edge of the roof, following the line of the rifles to a spot on the ground. Between securing our compound and capturing the Alpha Zom, I've been feeling like we're on top of the madness the world has thrown at us. That feeling goes out the window as I peer between Laurel and Fern dorms. Standing just beyond the cars and fencing is a man, hands raised above his head. How many? I take the binoculars Jenna passes me.
I counted 7.
Caleb replies.
5 adults and 2 kids, though there could be others out of eyesight.
Have you spoken to him?
Other than to tell them to halt or risk being shot, no.
Caleb replies.
They need to turn their asses around and leave,
Ben growls. I focus the binoculars on a man with a scraggly beard and a scuffed brown leather jacket who stands at the forefront of the group. Even in the half-light, I see the gaunt hollows of his cheeks and neck. I recognize the desperate look in his ragged eyes. I shift the binoculars to the cluster of people behind the lead guy. They look as gaunt and desperate as the man. I see the forms of the kids, but they're hidden between the adults and I can't make out their faces. Did they say what they want? I lower the binoculars, passing them to Carter. The rest of the group has arrived on the rooftop, all of us surveying the newcomers.
He asked for help,
Caleb replies grimly, never taking his eyes off the people at the far end of his rifle. Help. They look like they need help. I'll talk to them. I turn, heading for the ladder.
Mom, no!
Carter grabs my arm.
It might not be safe. You remember what happened with Johnson and his crew.
How can I forget? Even so, I can't write off the newcomers without meeting them first. Human beings are few and far between. We can use friends more than we can use enemies, I reply, repeating something Alvarez once said to me. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I'll go with you.
Ben steps up to my side, eyes narrowed and lips compressed.
But,
Carter begins. We have 3 options, I reply. We can shoot them, we can tell them to go away, or I can talk to them. The sun has crept up over the last few minutes, making it easier for me to see the ragged group of people on the other side of our car barrier. I'm going to talk to them. No one tries to stop me as I make my way to the ladder. Ben is on my heels. I want to believe there are good survivors out there, like us. People who don't see the apocalypse as an excuse to indulge the darker side of human nature. Ash, Caleb, and Ben are all examples of that. Susan and Gary, too. We're a stronger group since they joined us. Before we exit Creekside, Ben puts a hand on my arm.
We need a way to signal each other if something goes wrong.
I frown. Like a code word?
Exactly.
I think for a moment. How about 5 Leaf? That was the name of the brewery we holed up in the night we rescued Susan and Gary. I think of that night more often than I should. Ben nods, mouth set in a firm line.
5 Leaf. I'll stay 2 steps to the right of your 5 at all times. You do the talking. You see anything off, and I mean anything, Kate, say the word.
Taking a deep breath, I head toward the perimeter fencing. The morning is crisp, the asphalt damp from last night's rain. The air smells fresh, cleansed of the dust and debris that's hung in the air ever since we blew up College Creek and the library. Ben keeps his rifle raised, barely making a sound as he dogs my footsteps. I stop when I'm 10 feet away from the newly erected fence, grateful to have it between me and the strangers. The man in the battered leather jacket stares at me, hands still raised. I don't have to turn around to know Caleb and Ash still have rifles trained on him from the rooftop. My name is Kate. I raise my voice to carry over the line of cars that separates us. I've become so accustomed to the quiet, of being quiet, that raising my voice automatically makes me glance around for zombies.
I'm Leo.
The bushy man's eyes dart from Ben to my people on the roof.
We saw the explosions. We came from...
He swallows. Even from 20 feet away, I sense the grief roiling off him. My breath catches in my throat. I suddenly know exactly where this ratty band is from. Cold sweat beads my spine. You came from Eureka. He flinches, as though I've ferreted out a truth he was trying to hide.
Yes.
A low growl of fury rumbles up from Ben.
You led that horde straight to us.
Fury washes through me, making it difficult to breathe. I see my knife blade as it slams through Jesus's temple. I see Lila fall. I have a very strong urge to wrap my hands around Leo and strangle him.
We didn't mean to,
Leo whispers.
We've been living in a condo complex in Eureka ever since the outbreak. We've been surviving, but we weren't prepared for the zombies getting smart.
His voice is strained.
There were 47 people in our community before they hit us. We had no choice but to try and outrun them.
47. Only 7 people stand outside our home. The thought makes me sick. A pain goes through my heart. It's an effort to keep my face impassive. We've seen it too. The zombies are evolving.
They've become goddamn hunting packs.
Leo's voice twists with agony. You were in cars. You painted a big target on your backs with all that noise. Hell, we heard you from miles away.
They were everywhere,
Leo replies.
Our complex was overrun. The vehicles were our only options. You got some of our people killed,
Ben snarls.
When you roared past campus, you brought them right down on us.
Leo's face ripples with anguish.
We didn't do it on purpose. We didn't know what else to do. That doesn't change the outcome.
Ben's lips are pressed into a tight line. What would I have done had I been in Leo's position? Zombies behind us, an impassable car maze in front. I close my eyes and shake my head. Leo took the only road open to him. I would have done the same thing had I been in his position. I stare at the other man, meeting his gaze. He licks his lips, looking back at me with hope.
We saw the explosions and hoped to find other survivors on campus,
Leo continues.
It took us over a week to figure out how to get here after we ran out of gas. Zombies are everywhere.
This last part trails off in a whisper. I have no doubt he lost people after they ran out of gas. What is it you want? I need to hear him spell it out. Leo stares at me. Seconds tick by.
"We want to live,"
he says finally.
"We came here looking for other people. We've lost everything."
He looks so lost and so tired it makes my heart ache. I know that look. There have been times when I've felt just how he looks. No one can fake that. I can't turn my back on it. Even if these people did inadvertently bring about the deaths of Jesus and Lila. Or maybe it's because of their loss that I find myself wanting to help. As if doing the right thing can bring us all redemption. I glance at Ben, my mind made up. He gives me a tight look.
"No one comes in without first getting checked for bites,"
he says in a voice pitched loud enough for only me to hear.
"And they surrender all their weapons."
I nod, turning back to Leo. We'll be having breakfast soon. You can come in and share a meal with us if you agree to a few conditions. I don't know what I expected his response to be. A smile of relief, maybe? A heartfelt thanks? What I don't expect is for Leo's shoulders to slump, as if a giant weight has just slid off them. He puts a hand over his eyes, a quiver running through his body. Ben stiffens, bringing the rifle up. Don't. I put out a hand, pressing on his shoulder. Don't. It's okay. A single sob breaks out of Leo's throat. It's a sound of mingled sorrow and relief. He wipes his eyes and turns, beckoning to his tiny group of fellow survivors.
"Name your terms,"
he says in a quavering voice. Everyone surrenders their weapons and agrees to a full inspection for bites. No one comes in here with a bite.
"Or anything that looks like a bite,"
Ben mutters. Or anything that looks like a bite, I amend. Leo is nodding before I even finish.
"Yes, okay, whatever you say."
I don't even think he's listening to me. I could probably ask for his right foot and he'd hand it over.
"Come on,"
Leo calls to his people.
"It's all right. They're going to help us."
His people creep forward. They're filthy and hollow-eyed. They look like they've barely eaten. Their clothing is torn and caked with grime. When they look at me, my throat tightens. I may have failed Jesus, and I may have failed Lila. Hell, in some ways I even failed Federico. Maybe, just maybe, I can begin to make up for it by helping these people. There's room in Creekside for new family members.